Hello, welcome. My name is Bernardo Vargas. I am Dr. Nearshoring, and this is Manufacturing in Mexico for Dummies. Thanks for joining us to this chapter. Today's subject, it's about your manufacturing location. Where do you, in Mexico, you want to be located? And this is just an introduction, because this will be normally a long subject. So I just want to talk about the states, more or less their manufacturing trend or industry presence and experience. Also the economy, and the logistics is important for each of these states. Okay, so well, I'm going to start with a map. This is a map. This is a map of the north of Mexico and in the north center zone. Okay, so in the first place here, I'm going to start from my left to my right, left, right. I'm going to start with Tamaulipas. Tamaulipas is this state right here. Tamaulipas has a big coast, and Tamaulipas. I'm gonna take out the map, and then I'm gonna point out each city. Tamaulipas is really interesting because Tamaulipas have a seaport, which are Altamira and Tampico. So you can get goods through Altamira and Tampico. Perhaps ship from Houston and receive in Altamira and Tampico. Okay? Capital of the state is Ciudad Victoria. And there's maquiladora parks there, industrial maquiladora parks. About the violence, it has improved, and the cost of labor is not that high. But the problem is the school level, the school degree. It's difficult to find. Okay, it's possible to find from secondary, but it's more difficult to find junior high school. Okay, and maintenance technicians, that's going to be a challenge. So that's why Ciudad Victoria is not so developed in industrial parks, but they already have industry there, maquiladora. It's a good presence. We say it's small, but it's coming. They are coming slow, but they are growing. They are growing their industrial parks. Okay, and then the other cities, we have Matamoros, which was one of the first maquiladora cities in the history. Matamoros is a border with Brownsville, and in Matamoros there has been companies like Delphi, huge presence of Delphi there. So I think the largest presence in that city was Delphi. Nearly 6,000 employees, or probably more. It was big some time ago. Now it's not so popular, but still some companies decide to be located there because they have the border right there. Lately, it's not been so violent, but the problem with the border is the high turnover. Not the same in Victoria, but in these cities that I'm going to talk about, in Tamaulipas, there's a high turnover. People from all the country comes to work to the border. Same as if they were illegal immigrants or seeking following the same fashion, and sometimes they decide to stay and not going to the United States because they find job. There's actually always job availability, and the labor market, it's always in search for more and more employees. Okay, so plus it's the border, the logistics is going to be short. You're going to be crossing your product. But the other thing is, like I said, the labor, the high turnover. It's very high turnover. It's not strange that companies turn over 100% of the plant in 1 year. Yes. So many companies, that's why they don't decide to go there. Or they start in the border and then they move to other parts of the country like Monterrey. So that's Matamoros. Reynosa, it's also a big maquiladora city. It's also in the border. It makes the border with McAllen. Both cities are in Texas. Yes, and it's more or less the same size as Matamoros. They have large industrial parks. They have all the resources. They have airport. I think both cities have airport, and they have daily flights. If not, you can always go to McAllen, take a flight to Houston or to San Antonio or to Dallas. No problem. It's well communicated. Those are well communicated. And then same as Laredo. All of these are in Tamaulipas. And then the three cities have crossing points. Laredo is very good. Is excellent communicated because I think it has 3 bridges, and besides, I mean, very close from there is the crossing point of Colombia, which belongs, it's built in the state of Nuevo León, but it's very close to Laredo. So you always have plenty of alternatives in Laredo. I think in communication and logistics terms or aspect, it's the best in Tamaulipas. Okay, so it's growing also. It's growing fast, and in terms of for example, vendors, they share vendors in the state. It's because the cities are not very close one from the other. They are 2.5 hours distance or less. And also the port of Tampico, it's about 3 hours from Matamoros. So you can see here, I'm going to point out, I'm talking about this state, Tamaulipas, here Tampico, Matamoros, Reynosa, and Laredo, here. Okay? Here. Over here is Laredo. Okay? So, it is plenty of opportunity there. And now, I'm going to talk about Nuevo León. Nuevo León, the city of Monterrey is here. And right now, for the nearshoring, Nuevo León is the jewel of the crown, because it has everything to offer. The costs have not increased in terms of labor or services. So if you have the chance to decide going to the border in Tamaulipas or going to other place in like Ciudad Victoria, or sometimes installing the plant in Tampico, but your cost is going to be the same, pick Monterrey. Because why? You already have all the supply base installed. For example, if you are in Reynosa, perhaps you're going to need machining, but you're not going to find the machining in Reynosa. You're going to have to buy the machine parts in Monterrey. Same thing. I'm not saying that there's nothing there. Of course, there's supply base, but it's small because the cities are smaller. These are cities that are no more than, are between 500,000 probably and 750, 800,000 people, not more than that. But I want to remind you, the metropolitan area of Monterrey is 5.5 million inhabitants at least. And with all the industry, for example, with Kia, and very soon installation of Tesla, many suppliers are coming, and many local investors are deciding to expand their capabilities or start new shops for supplying parts. Like I said, machining, molding, fabrication. Fabrication includes everything: welding, notching, press brake, everything, all the different steps on the fabrication, everything, painting in all the different technologies that you can imagine, because they supply the auto industry. They also supply the aerospace industry as well, and healthcare. They're big, and they have Lego here, and they have Montoy, which was before is Mattel. They have a very large company. So if you have this, everything is the same cost, same risk, etc. I will recommend to come here to Monterrey. The problem could be their building, because now it's very difficult to find a building that can suit 100% your need. This is where we can help you, because you're gonna find a building that does not meet your needs. It's very possible, and then you have to modify it, to upgrade it, to expand it. We can help you with that. We are small, we are flexible, and we can supply like this. We can offer you delivery times, lead times, that the big guys cannot offer, never, because they are bureaucratic. They are good, but they are large construction companies, and right now they have they are very busy because everybody wants to work with them. In our case, we are flexible, and we prefer to have companies, small, medium, large, to be all over the span. Why? That allows us to be more flexible, right? So that's we are located in Monterrey, but we can definitely we can support projects in Coahuila, Nuevo León, Tamaulipas, San Luis Potosí. Now I'm going to talk very quickly about the other states. For example, Coahuila. Coahuila, we have it's the state that is here. It's a neighbor of Nuevo León. It's very important because it has Saltillo. Saltillo is an auto industry city with many suppliers and many plants and maquiladoras installed to support mainly the auto industry. GM has a plant there, Motors plant also, and Chrysler has 1 or 2 plants there. So also Saltillo is a very good option in the case you want to go to Coahuila. It's many I think some companies decide to go there because sometimes the turnover ratio is lower in that area, but they don't have all the access to all the suppliers. It's better to have a supplier for 20 minutes from a plant right? And Monterrey is closer to Laredo as well for the border crossing than having a supplier. For example, Saltillo is 1 hour and a half from here, than 1 hour and a half, and having to go to the speedway, right? So that depends, but that's also an excellent location. Then we have in Coahuila, we have Piedras Negras. Piedras Negras is probably the smaller on the northeast, the smaller city, but they also have about 10 industrial parks. They are growing and growing every year. They have the border crossing right there. And I think some companies decided to establish from long time ago in Piedras Negras because of their location in Texas, so they can quickly connect with the interstates and ship the product to plants that were in certain parts in North America. So the logistics was important. So I remember a Light Signal and General Electric as well, but very, very old. I'm talking about 30, 40 years. One of the first maquiladoras installed there in Piedras Negras. So there's labor, obviously, because it's in the border, high turnover ratio. Okay, there's like I said, with logistics, and it's going to be more or less the same situation that you're going to find in the other border crossing cities, right? I think recently the security situation in Coahuila has improved a lot. So it's actually even better than in Nuevo León nowadays. Okay, now moving to Chihuahua, the biggest state in Mexico. Yes, it's here. Chihuahua, the largest state. Muy bien. Then in Chihuahua we have Chihuahua City, which is a beautiful city, touristic. I like the weather. It's a little hot in summer, but I think it's dry because it's in the mountains. And they have industrial parks. It's been growing, and they also have a Ford plant where I think they assembly the F-150 and probably other models. So they have all their supply base installed there. So there's good experience there with people, and it's close to Ciudad Juarez to make your border crossing. And then now we can talk about Ciudad Juarez. So if you're an auto industry and you're going to supply to GM and Chrysler, and probably you're going to be supplying, probably a good option for you is to pick Saltillo. So if you're going to supply the whole spectrum, probably you want to pick Monterrey, because you're going to be better in the end. You're going to find more solutions of buildings. That's the problem with the small cities. Chihuahua is also a small city. The building availability is good, but it's scarce at the same time because there's no many options. Monterrey has a big demand. That's why they have many options of buildings. But in the smaller cities, the demand is less. So you're going to have availability, but the type of building that you're going to find probably is not going to meet your needs. And instead of finding 10 or 20 buildings available, like in Monterrey at any time of the year, you're going to find 3 or 4. So this is just to put in comparison what are the pros and cons. And Ciudad Juarez. Ciudad Juarez is like the mother of all the maquiladora in Mexico. It's plenty of industrial parks, but the turnover is terrible. The security has improved, so it's a good place, but it's very far. And not many people, for example, like engineers, managers, this is it's probably also one of the most important things. Your administrative, they don't like to move to Juarez. It's not exactly a very beautiful city. Sometimes they move because they can make the deal of living in El Paso. But that's also tricky, and they can study in El Paso University, etc. So some people decide to go, but not many, not many. So high turnover, security is better currently. That's probably also a good option. A lot of auto industry. So that's another option. That's definitely another option that you may want to take a look. It's the largest city from Mexico in the border. Then we have Sonora. Sonora has a lot of potential. Sonora is another large state. Now we're talking now I'm talking about the northwest. Okay, in Sonora we have Hermosillo. There's also a Ford plant in Hermosillo, very famous. They have their supply base, and they have other industrial parks, and they produce many of different parts. So more or less the size of the economy is the same as the city of Chihuahua. Okay, so that's another alternative. The problem is again the same. It's very far, and there are not too many universities alternative to have engineers, managers, same as Chihuahua, not too many engineers, not too many, because it's very far from the populated areas of the country, like the northeast region. Then in the north we have Nogales. Nogales here. That's probably the border town, the smaller border town. They also have industrial parks. Not as many, but they have industrial parks. And some companies decide to establish a large plant in other city of the country, and then a small plant in Nogales. Why? To ship to Nogales, and then from there make the final shipment to wherever in the United States. Just make the border crossing there. I think it's not so busy as others. My preference is always going to be Laredo. For me, Reynosa, Matamoros, they are always busy. Piedras, it's so, but it's very far from where the preferred manufacturing locations are. So my preference would be a border crossing through Laredo. So even if you're in Saltillo or in Monterrey, many companies use Laredo because of the availability of all the bridges. You can switch from one bridge to another if you have a good broker, and then or ship through Colombia. No problem. They have then 4 or 5 alternatives. So it's perfect. So then Nogales. Pros and cons. Nogales has a big turnover, and the availability of people is very scarce. So it's a big problem with Juarez and Nogales, that then turnover is high, but not so many people available. So you're gonna end up with your labor job openings long time, until you can finally find a substitute. So unfortunately, that's the problem with that they struggle. So many companies start there, and then they decide to go to Chihuahua and Nogales and have a more steady, because definitely the turnover in Hermosillo and Chihuahua are smaller. What are the cons? You don't have the technical support. So if you have a broken machine, you need to bring the technician from the United States, and it's gonna double your expense, both Hermosillo and Chihuahua. But if you are in Saltillo, you can bring the technician from Monterrey, because more and more in Monterrey we have all the technical centers for all the machinings, the moldings, the press brakes, the big presses, the sequential press, everything. More and more, they are opening technical centers here, and we have the availability. So that's another item to have in mind. Finally, we have in the Northwest, we have Mexicali and Tijuana. Those are definitely in the Northwest region. Of course, I know what I'm saying. It sounds stupid because that's the map. But what I'm trying to say is they are a different animal. Most of the companies that are based there are because they supply California. So if your company is in California, you want to be based in Tijuana or in Mexicali. Definitely. There are some maquiladoras that are expanding to Rosarito. So it's a great place. And some people decide to change completely their lives, and they go there, and then they change their lives. They don't live in this Mexico anymore. They live in the Western Mexico. It's a completely different animal, and I think that is the main driver. But again, because they are in that area, most of their help is coming from US, right? And then at US rates. That's the other thing. Yes, because technician in Monterrey is gonna probably charge you $25 an hour, and a technician in the US is gonna charge, I don't know, maybe $50, $75 an hour at least. So that's something that to have in mind. Okay, then we have other areas like San Luis. San Luis, there's plenty of industry there. It's also very interesting. It's similar, I would say, it's similar to Saltillo, but it's farther from the border. But if for some reason you don't find the right spot in Monterrey, you can always have San Luis as a good option. The preference for many companies is Monterrey, then Saltillo, then the third, San Luis, because it's not so far from the border. Turnover, not so high, but also they have plenty of labor. Elementary, some a junior high school, but plenty of labor, because this state, it's very highly populated, and there's people from the state of Veracruz that very frequently are coming to San Luis Potosí for living. So that's important to consider. And then we have Guanajuato and Querétaro. Guanajuato lives a life for itself because they have GM plants, and they have plenty of other industries like food industry, and same as Querétaro. But in Querétaro they have built a huge hub for aerospace industry. So they have all the auto industry hub, which is very old, from 50 years ago. They have old plants like Dana, for example. But they have also Honda. I think Honda has a manufacturing facility over there, and they also supply to GM. And what happened with Querétaro is interesting, because at some point in time there was a big push from the government to move the auto industry and many other industries from the Mexico City to other states, and the main state where these companies were moved was Querétaro. So this was 50 years ago, was 40 and 70s. This was when Querétaro was start growing, and here they have an excellent supply base of machine parts, tooling, machining, machine building, machine designing. Actually, I used to use machine builders, automation builders from Querétaro, because they are very good. Their quality is very good. For companies in Monterrey, and their cost is very good. So pay attention to Querétaro. It's also a good option. Turnover is not that high, and the weather is exceptional. Many people like to live there, and you always want to have the people in motion going from Mexico City. So that could be a good alternative. People don't like Querétaro or prefer not to go to Querétaro. I want to say don't like. Prefer don't establish in Querétaro because of the long distance to the border. So because if you ship late, you're going to be shipping the next day in Laredo. But if you're in Monterrey, if you ship that day, if you ship 5 p.m., you're in Laredo at 8, and you're crossing the border at that time. So you can always make the day, which is very important for working just in time. So I hope I gave you good recommendations. So now when you see the map, you at least can relate the names. I hope this was not too long. And if you have questions, you can always go to my webpage. You can use the chat. And the chat's going to be sending me all your questions. And I'll be very happy to answer. Provide me with an email. And it's better, I think, if you put your email in your questions. And that's it. Okay, my name again is Bernardo Vargas. I am Dr. Nearshoring, and this was Manufacturing in Mexico for Dummies. See you in the next chapter.